What is it that makes Christmas Christmas?
Have a banana, Hannah. Try the salami, Tommy. Give with the gravy, Davy. Everybody eats when they come to my house. I fix your favorite dishes, hoping this good food fills ya. Work my hands to the bone in the kitchen alone. Everybody eats when they come to my house. Hannah, Davy, Tommy, Dora, Landry. Everybody eats when they come to my house. Hey, this is a party, Marty, 'cause everybody eats when they come to my house. Everybody eats when they come to my house.
What's Christmas all about but fun, family and a little bit of indulgence? And that's what my Christmas sweetie cake is all about. This is a really simple cake to make. You put all of your ingredients in your mixer and let it do the hard work for you. Firstly, in goes the butter. Next we have the flour, then the golden caster sugar, eggs, and then the baking powder, the vanilla extract and the milk. So all the ingredients are in the mixer. We just need to turn it on and let it do its thing. So we just let it come together. It's starting to look a bit like a batter. Turn it up. And that's how easy it is. The cake batter is now ready and my tins are lined. So I'm now going to fill them. Just spread the batter so that it covers the entire tin. Finally, just give your tins a little tap on your work surface to remove any air bubbles. Just like that. And now they're ready to go in the oven. Once the cakes are cooled, you can make the frosting. So we start with our sifted icing sugar, and then the butter, vanilla extract, and finally the milk. So we have all of our ingredients for our frosting, and just like with the cake, we just need to let the mixer do its thing. The frosting is ready. Now I've got a cake plate here. Put a small amount of frosting just in the centre, and this will act like a glue to make sure the cake doesn't move once we've decorated it. And I'm going to smooth frosting over the top. And then we're ready for the next layer. We'll just place that on top, slightly push it down and smooth this layer over too. And don't worry if you get crumbs in the icing, because the sides of the cake are going to be covered by something very special. So I've completely frosted the cake now, and we're ready to start decorating. We've got some lovely festive candy canes here that we're going to decorate the outside of the cake with. And the last candy cane, just pushing that into the frosting as well. And to finish off the sides, I'm going to decorate it with some festive red ribbon. We're now ready to decorate our cake, and it's Christmas, so we can be fun, we can be indulgent. I think that calls for lots and lots of sweets. And so these are the last few sweets going on for my Christmas sweetie cake, which really is a treat for Christmas.
Favorite Christmas recipe is a twist on the traditional Christmas cake, but adding a lot of dark chocolate and lashing of orange liquor. So overnight, I've soaked my dry fruit with a lot of orange liqueurs. I went for some lovely dry plum fruit. It will make the finished cake much more exciting. I got some soft unsalted butter. I'm gonna add to it the light muscovado sugar. And to bring some extra darkness, I'm gonna add to it some molasses sugar as well. And I'm gonna start creaming all those three ingredients at full speed till it's light and fluffy. And this is a very important part when you make any cake batter. This really needs to be fluffy and very pale before we add our eggs to it. Okay, so my mixture is ready now. I'm just going to give it a good scrape to make sure everything is mixed properly, and then I'm going to add my eggs. So slow speed and one egg at a time. And you wait till the eggs is completely incorporated. The mixture is nice and smooth. then you can add the second one. And for the last one, so time to add our dry ingredients. So I got some plain flour, which I'm gonna sift in. And before I finished all the flour, I'm gonna add to it lovely spices. That's gonna make it so Christmassy. A good teaspoon of the mixed spice and some nutmeg. Your kitchen's gonna smell absolutely amazing. Just sifting them together, and I'm gonna fold the whole lot very gently into the mixture. So my mixture is lovely and glossy. Time now to add the secret ingredient, some lovely dark chocolate was being gently melted on a pan of simmering water, and I'm just gonna add that to my mixture. Again, folding it very gently, and because of the warmness of the chocolate, the mixture is getting even glossier, should I dare to say, even yummier. That's exactly what we're looking for. Smooth, glossy, very chocolatey, and all these lovely flavors. I'm gonna add some mixed peel. I've got some roasted walnut half and some hazelnut. So gently fold them inside. And now time for those juicy plum fruit who's been soaked overnight. That goes all inside. And if there's any spare juices, just put them in. Before I mix them, I'm gonna add a little cheeky splash of more liquor to it. Just because I can, and because it's Christmas. Folding that nicely. Finally, some glassy cherries, slightly chopped. And just to cut through to the sweetness of all this glassy fruit, the juice of a lemon. And here we are. This is the perfect batter. So now we're ready to bake our cake. I got a tin here who's been double lined, so slightly greased. It's gonna give you a lovely golden color on the outside of your cake. So level the top of your cake with a spatula just to make it nice and even. And this is ready to go in our preheated oven. And get ready for some delicious smell in your kitchen. The cake has been maturing. I'm just gonna unwrap it gently. And before I move it to my cake stand, I'm gonna brush the whole cake with some hot sift apricot jam. This will help to stick the marzipan on the top, and at the same time it's gonna make it glossy and stop the side drying. I actually turned the cake upside down, so now I got the bottom of the cake on the front facing me, so I got a nice flat surface to work with. So I started rolling my marzipan here, and I'm gonna use the base of my baking tin to cut a disc of marzipan who's going to fit perfectly on my cake. And the best way to move it on the cake is actually to fold it in two, so you don't stretch it when you move it back, and just place it on your cake and just put it back like so. Just give it a bit of a rub like this, and I'm going to do exactly the same, but this time using fondant icing. So again, corn flour on my kitchen top. So exactly like I did with the marzipan. Just going to brush the marzipan lightly with some water, so that's going to become a little bit of glue. So for my festive decorations, I'm going to use the trimming of the icing. I'm just going to knead it together, and I'm going to roll it again, but this time much thinner. This is rolled nice and thin now. Brush the whole layer with a little bit of water. And of course, Christmas won't be Christmas with a little bit of glitter. When you cut icing like this, mostly if it's been painted, just dunk your cutter a little bit into the corn flour and just gently cut out those snowflakes. We are fabulous. And just now to finalize the look of our Christmas cake, just gonna tie up a nice piece of ribbon around the cake. And here we are. This is my chocolate Christmas cake, very glittery, perfect centerpiece for the festive season.
Really well-made glazed ham. Very traditional. That whole thing of kind of the clove and orange, the cinnamon, you've got maple syrup in there. And Christmas Day wouldn't be Christmas Day without some doorstep sandwiches in the evening. At least this way, you don't even have to have turkey all the time. So in here, I've got my gammon. It's sitting in the water. I've made some slits in the skin and popped it into a baking tray. I'm going to add some apple juice. I'm going to then add a cinnamon stick, a couple of cloves, and star anise. Some garlic that I've peeled and given them a bash. Finally, some orange peel. So I'm straddling two hobs here because it's quite a big roasting tray. So what I'm doing here, just bringing the liquid up to a simmer and then pop it in the oven. So if you were just to roast a piece of gammon at high temperature, it could end up being quite dry. This way, It's sitting in liquid, it's a much gentler cooking process. Okay, now to make the maple mustard glaze. Orange juice and 2 types of mustard and the maple syrup. So first off, pour the maple syrup in a pan and then crank the heat up. The maple syrup needs to come up to 140 degrees centigrade. Now that's going to take 15, 20 odd minutes. Once the maple syrup's hit 140, just give it a couple of minutes off the heat because this liquid is very hot. Because the next thing we're going to do is add the cinnamon stick and the orange juice. Just be careful because this will really bubble up. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just bring this up to the boil and then let it reduce by about half. That's about the right kind of consistency. So let's just get rid of the cinnamon stick, add a little bit of English mustard powder and a small bowl of Dijon mustard, and then give it a blend. Once the gammon's finished its braise, let it cool down enough to stop steaming. If you take it straight out of that hot liquid, all that steam, all that moisture is going from the meat to the air, you end up with a dry lump of ham. Just going to remove the skin. So you're kind of keeping the knife in almost in the same place, and then you just move a piece of meat around. Once you've taken the skin off the gammon, just score the fat, give it a good generous glaze, and then whack it in the oven. And then 10-15 minutes later, take it out and do the same again. Everything up to the point of roasting it with a glaze on is designed to try and keep this piece of meat as moist as possible. And then it's just at the end when you then start to glaze it, but you do the higher temperature for a shorter period of time. The smell from this is wonderful. That hint of orange really does tell you it's Christmas. As always with meat, if you don't allow them to rest, then when you carve, a lot of the moisture that you've tried to keep in the meat will actually come out. So there it is, a Christmas roasted gammon with maple mustard glaze. You can either serve it hot, I mean you can replace turkey with it, have it with a parsley sauce, have it with eggs. It's really versatile. Maybe a couple of doorstep sandwiches.
Some simple but striking Christmas cookies, and they're great fun to make with the kids. Now to start with, put some plain flour into a food processor. Next I've got some butter that I've cubed, in that goes, and then just pop the lid on and give it a little whiz. And then once the mixture resembles breadcrumbs, in goes some icing sugar, 2 egg yolks and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then just give that another whiz. Now the mixture's come together, so I'm just going to lift off that lid and then carefully take out the blade. Get a piece of cling film ready and scoop out that mixture. Pop it onto the film. And because it's a slightly soft mixture, I'm just going to wrap the dough and pop it into the fridge for about an hour until it's nice and firm. The dough is chilled and it's ready to roll. I'm just going to lightly flour my surface and then lift off that cling film. And then just make sure that it can move on the surface. We don't want it to stick. And then lightly flour your pin. It really helps, I find, when you're rolling, just to roll in one direction. So I'm going front to back and then turn the dough and then just carry on in the opposite direction. My dough is ready. It's got a thickness of about 3 millimetres, which is what we're after. So I'm using a traditional Christmas tree cutter. You could use whatever festive shape you fancy. And then just pop them onto a parchment-lined baking tray. And once you've stamped out all of your shapes, you can just re-roll the trimmings and stamp out more until you've used up all the dough. I'm going to use my biscuits to decorate the Christmas tree. So using a bamboo skewer, I'm just going to make a hole and just wriggle it around and make sure it's large enough to thread some ribbon through. And then these need to go into the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're set and pale golden, and then pop them onto a wire rack and leave to cool, and they'll be ready to decorate. I've got some green icing here, and I've used the already coloured variety. I'm just going to put a little bit of icing sugar on my surface and then a little bit on the top. I'm going for a vibrant Christmas tree green, and roll it out quite thinly. And then using that same cutter, just stamp out a couple of trees. To fix the icing onto the cookie, I've got some icing sugar here, and add a little bit of water. And just stir that together. And you want a brushable consistency, so that looks about right to me. So taking one of the cooled biscuits, pop it down, and then just brush a little bit on top, and lay the icing shape directly over. And then with the skewer, we're just going to try and find that same hole. And if you're not confident about piping onto the biscuits, this is a perfect recipe for you, because all you need is a little brush. Get some icing onto your brush and then just draw some lines zigzagging across the tree, and that's going to represent our tinsel. And for this version, I'm going to keep it really, really simple. I'm going to go for this, which is bronze crunch, and just use one thing on this tree. And then I'm just going to sprinkle it onto the icing, which is acting as glue. Get rid of any excess and pop it onto your wire rack and leave it till it's completely set. There are tons of decorations you can use, from pearly ones to silver balls and hundreds and thousands and all sorts of colours. There's no end to the different designs you can go for. Use whatever colours, whatever shapes you fancy. Make some baubles out of red icing if you fancy it. You can pop them into an airtight container and eat them as they are, or leave them to set completely and string them up to decorate your tree. They're my absolutely lovely and very easy Christmas